Have you ever wanted to make a crazy shift? In episode 3 of the Personal Pivot series, we explore the immense growth and learning we gain when we make life-changing pivots and make the time to do something we really wanted to do. It can be scary and you may doubt yourself along the way, but stepping out of your comfort zone allows you to push out the boundaries of the invisible walls we all have around us and to make space for ourselves.
So our guest today is Pascal Ambrosino. Pascal is a CPA and has experience working with large professional service organizations. In 2017, Pascal moved to Rwanda, where he has spent 2 years developing the African Accounting Academy. So welcome, Pascal. Thank you so much for being on this show today.
Thanks, Farhan. I'm glad to be here, and I really look forward to this conversation.
So what made you move to Africa and Rwanda in particular?
I get asked that a lot, and I don't always have the same answer. It feels like it's always changing.
Yep.
But if I look back at where I was in 2017, at the time I was looking for a new challenge. Also interested in starting a project to call my own.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing my project go from an idea to launching it, seeing the impact it could have on my customers, the market, the community. Coming from a background in professional services, and I'm sure you can relate, we do a lot of project-oriented work. It's the nature of the work we do for our clients, and many times we're juggling many projects at once.
Yeah.
However, those projects are fairly narrow in scope. I focus on just accounting or finance, which is my expertise. But I was seeking, a project that would allow me to broaden my skill set, get exposed to sales and marketing, operations, product development, technology. At the time of my role, it would have been very hard for me to be exposed to, those type of skills. And I can't deny that just the idea of an adventure, being in a new foreign country, meeting new people, that was also very appealing. But even with all that, there was still a bit of doubt. I think it's natural that we'll doubt the decisions we make, especially major decisions. There's always going to be doubt. So, the idea of an adventure, I wanted to start a project, I wanted a new challenge. That probably got me to the point where I was maybe 80% comfortable with the idea. And, to get me over the hump, to really commit to it, I relied on my intuition a bit. I had this gut feeling that, this opportunity would be, life-changing. It would be exciting. And that's what really got me over the finish line.
And most people feel that they want to do something, but there is that kind of worry about the the uncertainty and what it's going to bring and how will you deal with it. There must have been days where you were worried or you're like, am I doing the right thing? How did you deal with that?
Yeah, in those situations, like, you're vulnerable and it is scary. I completely agree. I'm very fortunate, I guess, to have, transferable skills of finance and accounting. And I kind of just thought of, like, the worst case scenario of this experience is, I potentially lose 3 to 6 months of income. And again, I was fortunate I was in a position that I was able to do that. But the benefit is huge. The benefit of the new experience, all the learnings along the way, really outrisk the risk. So, no gains in life are risk-free. So you do have to take risk, and that's kind of what got me over that hump.
That you answered that like an accountant.
Yes, we're very
great.
analytical.
Yeah, no, that's
thinking
great
about risk all the time. So, I sometimes take what I learned about risk and how to analyze, how to assess risk, and apply it to, my daily life.
Yes. Yeah, no, and I love that you asked, because that's a question I ask a lot as well, although I'm no accountant. But I do, that's how I go, when I do something crazy, the question always is, what's the worst that can happen?
Right.
Can I live with the consequences? Even with the worst that happens, what will I gain from it? And does it balance the books?
Right. I really had to learn to be resourceful. I was in a foreign country, also diving into the world of education, which I had, as an accountant, had no prior background in. It was all very, very new to me. I really had to get out of my comfort zone, learn not to be afraid to ask for assistance when I need it. I reached out to many experts, many professionals in education on the continent to seek answers for like the challenges I was facing. It also made me realize that most people are willing to help. There's a lot of kind people out there. So when you ask for advice, you ask for feedback, more often than not, you'll get a positive response. Another key learning, and this might sound a little cheesy, but that saying, you can do anything you put your mind to. I learned that with enough effort that likely rings true. I faced many challenges along the way. There were many times, I felt like I was ready to quit. But I realized, if you keep grinding, putting in effort, being resourceful, in the end, like no challenge is really insurmountable.
What was the most frustrating thing you had to deal with?
The one really challenging part, and this is mostly because I'm coming from Toronto, which is a high, fast-paced city, is that things don't always move as fast in East Africa as sometimes you'd like. What you think may take an hour will actually take a week. What will take a week will probably take a month. But once I realized, to slow down my pace, I ended up really embracing that and actually enjoying it. But it took me a bit of time to get comfortable with that.
Africa is huge, and there's such huge countries. And you probably found like the smallest country to go to. Was there a reason for that, or was it just happened?
Yeah, no. So there is a story behind why we chose Rwanda. So I went with my partner Erin, and in 2016 she did a small volunteer stint, a short 2-month stint, helping a local small NGO improve their accounting processes, their financial reporting. So that's when she really saw the need. But yeah, of all countries she could have chosen one of the smallest countries in middle of East Africa. But that was a kind of a blessing in disguise, choosing Rwanda, because it's such a wonderful country, very safe, small enough that you can meet a lot of people, and people are very welcoming and open. So, over the first couple of months, we're able to develop a little bit of a network that I find it would have likely been easier to do in Rwanda than say in Kenya or Tanzania, which are much larger countries. So we're thrilled to the fact that, of all the countries we chose, it was Rwanda.
And it's a country that has done amazing things in the last few years and moved so fast. I think even how they've coped with COVID has been exemplary. So, okay. Yeah, sorry. I know I took you off your train of thought. Was there anything you wanted to add, or?
Yeah, there's another interesting takeaway that I had from this experience, and it's a theme that came up throughout the entire experience was like the importance of innovation. I'm really proud how fast I was able to adapt to the unique challenges that were thrown my way. I had to innovate a lot and even change the business model a few times over the course of the 2 years. So I guess you can say we, pivoted the business a few times. I realized how important it is that, when you're soliciting feedback from your stakeholders, whether it's like other experts in the field, your customers, your market, you have to adapt that feedback back into your business. It's especially relevant nowadays, though, with the current COVID crisis. So many companies have been in crisis management mode. So companies have learned that if you don't innovate, you might not last long.
And it's such a huge lesson, isn't it? Like, you may have had a very clear goal at the start of it, and I'm sure that if I was to ask you now, you would say you've achieved it, but it might be looking very different.
Yeah, completely. If you first asked me the day I arrived in Rwanda, what would success look like for you? Or like, how long do you think you'll be there? or like, what do you think you would accomplish? Back then, we had such low expectations. When we first arrived, I would have probably been happy if we worked with 3 clients and trained maybe a dozen accountants. But once the business got off the ground and we changed it and it turned into an online model that's more scalable, our goals completely changed.
Yeah.
We had set then very high expectations and very lofty goals. We wanted to train 1,000 accountants before we left the country. Now we didn't achieve that, which sometimes, and I look back, it frustrates me, and that's just the nature of myself. I'm kind of hard on myself sometimes. But really, no one had any expectations for us. These were all expectations, we made for ourselves. In fact, most people thought we were crazy. Like, what are we doing? 2 Canadian CPAs moving across the world to train accountants.
Yeah.
But yeah, now that I look back, I am just really proud of, what we were able to achieve, regardless of, not being able to achieve those, lofty goals we had set. In terms of this specific pivot, it really has opened my horizon and, made me realize that there's a lot more to explore, both in this world, personally, professionally, career, you name it. There's just a lot to explore and a lot still to learn. After this experience, I'm more aware of, the type of learning and the type of growth that I'm seeking. But I'm still exploring, how to best use this experience and leverage it into, future projects that I may have. When people ask me, like, why did I make this pivot, and this pivot must be life-changing for you, and it was, but, I don't think all pivots have to be life-changing, such as like moving across the world to pursue a crazy idea.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who can't do that for different reasons.
Yeah.
But any sort of pivot, even, a small one, can bring life-changing results. So, I think people should, take a look at their skills, their interests. Many skills are transferable. And even a small pivot, whether it's, taking on a different role within your company, or moving to a different company, a competitor, or spending more time volunteering in your community, all those small pivots can lead to, major changes down the road.
Yeah. When you were talking even earlier, I felt like when you were describing what you've learned, and, it almost feels like you pushed whatever, invisible walls that are around us. You pushed the boundary out and made more space for yourself almost. Does that make sense?
Yeah, in a strange way, that does make a lot of sense.
Thank you so much, Pascal. I really appreciate your time and sharing your journey. I'm sure there's lots of things that people can learn from this. And I hope that people take a leaf out of your book and try something different. It doesn't have to be moving to Africa, although I do highly recommend it. It's great. I did the opposite. I moved from Africa to Canada.
Great. No, thanks, Farhana, for having me here. It's been a wonderful conversation. I really enjoy talking about the experiences I had there. Every time I talk about them, I sort of kind of relive them in a way. So thanks for giving me that opportunity.